I have re-recorded this multiple times, and I just kind of kept rambling, and I figured that would have been kind of annoying. So, so yeah, I'm doing this for like the fifth time, and I'm gonna try not to ramble as much. The character in the background is my character Gwen. She is pretty snazzy, so I drew her. Um, and yeah, I have some stories from the Psychward slash treatment center I was in. Um, Even though the title says Psychward stories, uh, one of the stories actually takes place in a clinic for eating disorders, because despite being 17 at the time, I didn't know how to eat. Um, which people usually figure that out pretty early on, but I guess I wasn't one of them. But it's fine. But yeah, on to the stories before I ramble, like in a lot of my videos. Um, Noise in the background is fish tanks. So yeah, I'm not even in the same room. They're just loud. So hopefully they don't bother you too much. But anyway, on to story one. I'm gonna get the short stories out of the way. Um, Obviously, trigger warning, because I'm gonna be talking about eating disorder stuff, and if that makes you uncomfortable or upsets you in any way, just don't watch this video. Watch something else. Go watch, I don't know, go watch a cat video or something. But anyway, first story. Um, so when you're going through the refeeding process, your body will go through a phase of extreme hunger. Um, a lot of the times it's really common, especially for like people struggling with restrictive eating disorders. Basically, the body is like, oh my god, this person finally came to their senses and is eating and fueling me. I need to inhale as much as I can, in case I go into starvation again, because the body doesn't like that. And it's a really weird feeling. um, Basically, you can eat as much as you want and feel hungry. Like it feels like you haven't eaten in like a week, even though you ate like 2 minutes ago, just because your body is just, it craves all the food. It needs all the food. There's people who actually go into the science behind it, but basically you can eat as much as you want. You really don't feel full. You'll feel full for maybe like a couple minutes, and then your body will be like, yeah, it's time for more food. We need all the food. And during that time, I feel like a lot of people in recovery kind of get like a little bit bitchy and protective about food, where it's like kind of your natural body instincts overthrow your eating disorder, I guess, and you just want all of the food, and you get really pissed off if someone tries to take the food away, and all that. It's a common experience. Obviously not for everyone, but it's, yeah. Um, I'm not good at explaining it, so hopefully that makes semi-sense. Anyway, the thing is, with the refeeding process, you have to be restricted on what you eat, or mainly just how much. And that's purely like a safety thing, where if you eat too fast, like if you go from eating basically nothing to like binging, after your body gets used to it, you can get a thing called refeeding syndrome and potentially die from that. And doctors tend to not want that, so they're very picky about what you eat when you're in treatment for eating disorders usually. But once I got past that phase where I was semi-functional, like my body was still healing, obviously, but I wasn't at risk of like heart failure from food. I was sent to the Psychward because they knew I wouldn't, drop dead or anything. They were like, okay, they're semi-functional. They just, still have to be really careful and stuff. But we don't need to like monitor them all the time. At least physically. Mentally, that's a different story. But anyway, pretty much when people would come to visit me, when family would come to visit me, we talked with the staff about like, hey, they could come in to like eat meals with me sometimes, but it was really weird. They weren't allowed to bring in food, which I understand that for like the refeeding process, but when it gets to like the point where your body is semi-stable and your body is semi-functioning, I don't know, they were really weird about it, where they were like, no, sorry, we only want this person to eat hospital foods. Sorry, you can't bring in like, I don't know, any outside foods or even foods from the proper cafeteria. And that was frustrating because hospital food isn't ideal. It doesn't taste great, not the best quality. But yeah, basically my dad would sneak in like little like cookies and candy bars and stuff for me, which I thought was pretty great. He would like wrap them in paper towels and just like shove them in my bag, because they wouldn't really check my bag. They only like checked it like once or twice when I got there, but after that they were like, okay, we know you don't have anything dangerous, so it's whatever, you're fine. But yeah, despite being treated for restrictive eating disorder, I was actually eating more than the meal plan half the time. At least most of the time. But yeah, I don't know. It's not really like a major story or anything. I just think that's kind of funny. Because, yeah, extreme hunger made me want all the food. And when I was in treatment, honestly, the main thing I was craving, I remember, were those like paydays, like the peanut and caramel candy bars. And I kind of wanted to cry when I got some sneaked in, where I was like, oh my god, it's so beautiful, kind of thing, because I was like, I haven't had this in like 5 years because my stupid eating disorder was giving me shit for it. But yeah, on to the next story. I'll try to make this one a little bit shorter because there's really not much to it. Basically, when I wasn't able to eat enough, they would tube me, so stick a little tube up my nose and it would go down into my throat to my stomach so they can... So basically I was force-fed sometimes because my brain or my body was being stupid, and I was like, yeah, I feel gross. I feel like I'm gonna puke if I eat more food. Like my body is hitting its limits and I can't do it, or like the mental side would kick in where I'd be like, I feel really guilty and really shitty, so I just can't do that right now. Sorry. Or like sometimes the food was just gross and was just kind of a thing where I'm like, yeah, I can't make myself eat that. It's nasty. I'm not doing that. Sorry. I want to, but it's too gross. So yeah, they would tube people for a number of reasons. And I remember one time I was in my little room that they barely let us go into, and I was just so overwhelmed of everything that they made me eat. And I was also tubed at the time because I needed, like, I was partially eating, where I would eat some stuff but not enough, so they would give me part of it through the tube, like calculate what I didn't eat and then supplement it through the tube. But yeah, basically my dumb ass was freaking out, very overwhelmed, my stomach hurt, and I ended up puking. If I remember right, it was only like partially purging, like, I don't know, I'd get to a point where sometimes I would start throwing up, and that was usually just because my stomach was so full. But then the eating disorder would kind of kick in, where I'm just like, you know what, I need some relief. I can't handle the food in my body mentally right now. And I would just kind of continue it by myself, even after my body was done doing it on its own. If that makes sense. I don't want to go into much detail because it's kind of nasty. But yeah, fun fact, if you throw up with NG tube in, you'll actually throw up the tube. I don't know why, but at the time, I kind of assumed that it would just go around the tube, but no, so I ended up having the tube going, you know, from the machine, or not the machine, it wasn't hooked up at the time, but basically I had it going up my nose, and then out of my mouth, partially, and then down to my stomach, and I was a little freaked out because I was like, okay, well, damn, I don't really know what to do at this point. So, the first time it happened, I remember I went up to the staff and I was like, hey, I screwed up. What do I do now? And their response was like, oh, just pull it out. So I would do that sometimes. So I would just end up pulling out the tube and they would just redo it. But I also kind of figured out how to put the tube back by myself so I didn't look suspicious, which is dangerous. Don't do that. You can accidentally puncture a lung, apparently, which isn't ideal. But you know, I was dumb, and my dumb self did that a couple times, where I would pull the tube out and then put it back in myself. It was not. I wouldn't say it hurt, but it didn't feel great. But that could partially be because I have a kind of a high pain tolerance, so I don't know, it probably varies for people. But yeah, I ended up doing that multiple times, and no one ever figured it out. And I would kind of just do that out of boredom sometimes, like at night. Just like pull it in and out. But yeah, don't do that. That's not a good thing to do. But moving on to my next little tale of this story. takes place in the clinic, so not in the psych ward technically. But basically, I had a panic attack, and they were like, well, you still need to go back to group. And I was obviously like, yeah, no, I'm not doing that right now. I am not in a good mental space. And I remember asking for a couple things. I remember being all like, okay, so can I talk to like the therapist or something? And they were like, no, sorry, we don't want to give you extra time with her because that's not fair to the other staff, I mean the other clients. We were only really able to see our therapist like once a week for like 5 to 10 minutes. So really short sessions. And that was not ideal, especially in such a stressful environment. But yeah, I was also like, okay, well, can I, call home and talk to some family about what's going on, like call my dad and be like, hey, I'm kind of freaking out right now, and sorry, I cut out for a minute. He would comfort me and make things a little bit easier there. And they were like, yeah, no, sorry, we can't give you time with we can't give you extra phone call time because, not fair to our clients. You guys are only allowed to talk on the phone for like 5 minutes each day. Each. So yeah, not ideal. And just stuff like that. I asked for like just things that they took away from me. I was like, hey, can I use like my my art stuff? And they were like, no, sorry, not right now, kiddo, not right now. You have pencils and we don't want you to stab someone with that pencil. And I'm just like, I never attacked anyone, I'm not a violent person, kind of thing. So yeah, they were really weird about my art stuff for a while. But, eventually I gave them enough shit and they stopped bugging me about it. But, basically, I kept asking for, like, help. And they kept saying, no, sorry, kiddo. I would even ask to, like, talk to the regular staff there. And they were like, no, sorry, we're not legally qualified to talk to you about your eating disorder, even though that's literally what you're here for. So I got frustrated, wanted to go outside, and they kept following me, and they wouldn't leave me alone. I was pissed off and ended up just kind of walking out of the clinic and went on a little adventure through the neighborhood near the clinic, which, that was fun. It was nice to stretch my legs. Because, they didn't really want us moving around a lot, and I have chronic pain, so, a lot of chronic pain there, because I just wasn't using my muscles. But yeah, went on a little adventure, and the cops ended up picking me up. I remember the officer was like, I don't know, he was kind of weird about it. I was mad at the time, but realistically, he just didn't know. Basically, he was like, hey, we can go back there, and, I'm sure they'll let you contact your family now. I could talk to them, kind of thing. And obviously, not happening. And he was like, I don't want to like restrain you or anything, kid, but like we do need to go back to the clinic. So eventually I just kind of gave in and was like, okay, you know what, fine, it's whatever. But he let me use his phone and call my family, And that was like one of the best aspects of treatment, because I was allowed to talk to my family for a while, and I was like, yay, this is what I wanted the whole time. And I feel a lot better now. um yeah. And after that, the clinic was like, yeah, you can't pull that shit anymore. We're gonna have to kick you out if you do that again. um and at first I was like, oh damn, I gotta do that again to get out of this hellhole. But they were like, no, we'll just like send you to a higher security place. um so yeah, that not fun. um but yeah, that's kind of the story. Not much to say after that. Obviously, if you have questions, feel free to ask. Sorry this wasn't super entertaining. But yeah, hopefully you tolerated it.